Nope.
Yo, what's good?
What's up? What's up? I'm doing
Nice. Finally, we're on. This has been long overdue.
oh. How long have you been considering getting me on an episode? Because I didn't know you wanted me on one.
Wait, what was that?
I how long did you want me on an episode? Because I didn't know that you even wanted me on an episode.
Oh, I don't know why we're breaking up, but
Oh,
um,
give me a second.
gotcha.
Probably because I'm on Bluetooth.
Oh man.
I thought it would work. I just wanted to test it.
Hmm.
Okay, how's
Nice, much better.
excellent? Okay.
Nice. So, I was supposed to have you on earlier. I believe it was this year, because I remember I spoken to you about this before.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I remember, but it was like really, really early.
January, February, March, April, May, spring, winter.
Hmm. Yo, for some reason I can't remember exactly, but I know I asked. But I definitely know I asked. Please let everyone know who you are and what do you do.
Hello, everyone. My name is Isaiah Dunkley. Just you can call me Zay. And
Awesome.
let's see what I do. I do a lot of things on another podcast. The host said I wear a lot of hats, and I do indeed wear a lot of hats. Video producer, music producer in general, songwriter, lyricist, beat maker, comedy video maker, YouTube vlogger, blogger, therapist, emotional health specialist. That's the gist. That is the gist. Just to name a few. But I have my hand in a lot of things, and what I'm trying to do is, in as many forms as possible, represent myself and the people that I've met, I know, and just what I see in the world.
Yo, that's freaking awesome. It's crazy because the way me and Zay first knew each other was I was an intern at this studio called Funkadelic, and he was my manager. And it's crazy how it went from like that to like how we are at now, like how we're always engaging with each other content.
Yes, yeah. Oh man, Funkadelic Studios. Guys, head over there, please. Just if you ever come to New York, you got to hit Funkadelic Studios. Very comfortable place.
Very. Like the show I had for this year was supposed to be over there. And the same week COVID happened was the same week like I was supposed to perform, and then I was like, yo, we have to cancel this.
Oh snap. Wow. What did you end up doing about the show though?
We put it on hold.
Okay.
I wanted to do a live version, but no one really wanted to do it. And they kind of want to do it now, but I'm at the point where I'm already over it. So unfortunately, I'm not going to do that right now, at least until like later or something. But for now, that's not in the plans right now. Is just to focus on finishing these songs for 2021, these vlogs, more podcasts, and that's it for now.
Yeah, that makes more sense. There's just certain experiences that you want to deliver in person that just don't make any sense over live. And I get it. A lot of what has been happening is keeping us at a distance and trying to give each other different ways through technology to give each other the same experience. But we, one, miss it, and two, know that it's just not going to be the same. So I feel you there.
Yeah, I know it feels like I've seen like a couple live shows, and even the people who were performing at the shows, they were like, it was bittersweet because it's an interaction that's really important. Like, even though they had fun, they missed the interaction, and people underestimate like how human interaction like can really contributes to a person's well-being, their happiness, like that. These things that you don't even think about until like you actually lose them. Like, what if one day you're on a boat with a whole bunch of people and all of a sudden they're gone, and like, what are you gonna do now? Like, you're gonna
Yes. And especially being used to even boat parties, especially when you're celebrating, it's just like, wait, if no one's on the boat, exactly where am I sailing? Who am I supposed to talk to on this boat? And yeah, human interaction is absolutely important, and I would wish that we could take it more seriously without having to lose it first. You're talking to a local rock star. And I love the stage, and I love being able to just lay it all out there for the people. And it's electrifying. It's electrifying. It is magnificent. It's a spectacle. Just being able to capture both the way you feel and the way you think other people feel. And if you're wrong, figuring out how to be right and still put on a good show for the people. Just there's so much at play, and just the fact of the process is a spectacle in itself.
Oh man, yo, like this whole conversation is so interesting already. Like,
7 minutes in, good
I'll
start.
get that early, but like, yo, this is freaking awesome. Yo,
Hey, you have me. You have me. I am here.
nice. Thank you so much. I needed that reassurance. So, how was it like working for Funk, and how did you end up getting the manager position?
So, what it was like working for Funk, it was where I want to start is how I even came to know Funk. There was a girl I had a crush on, and she invited me to an open mic. We were at a different location at the time. By the time I came to work at Funkadelic Studios as an intern, I had been, what's the word, onboarded or welcomed by an intern that was there. So I first got an experience of being a part of this event called the Inspired Word inside Funkadelic Studio. It was hosted there. And then I ended up working at the place that events were hosted. So that I got to see two different images already. So, and the intern, she was a nice lady. So, you know what? That's funny. Now that I think about it, I was invited to one event by one of my crushes, and then the other crush actually got me working at Funkadelic Studios.
Yo,
Okay.
Yo, that's hilarious.
So there's zaddies, and I didn't mind. I was working at the time. I didn't mind having an extra bit of work. I'm a musician. I play a lot of instruments: piano, guitar, drums, bass, sax, violin. I mean, I'm a little bit. I need to catch up on the violin and the sax, but I still do play them. I know the basics, and so I'm a musician. So I didn't mind working at a studio. I mean, why not? It just fits, and I got to learn the rounds of the place. The manager, Dawn, she's a very comfortable person to work with. Her endeavor to be as comfortable as possible, and her endeavor to not make business so business to the customers, that you could feel it. You could feel it. You could feel even where the weaknesses were and how she was trying to get it along so that you didn't have to feel that way, even if she had to bear the brunt of it. That is the amount of consideration and compassion that goes into that. It's just magnificent. So,
Right.
so there I am as an intern, and I was hesitating a little bit on the manager role, but sitting behind that desk where you do social media, you're cleaning up rooms, you're tuning instruments, and you're changing values for people and helping things mic up. I got to see, especially because you're working just behind a manager, I got to see what a manager is really doing. And the coordination of things was actually just like performing on stage. So
Whoa.
that, not that I knew it at the time, but once I asked about being up there, because I worked for a year being an intern. And then I was curious and I asked about being a manager. And then it was just that easy, really. I wanted to try it out. I usually hesitate when it comes to stepping up because I don't know if I want to be obligated to it. There's a lot of messages out there that say that once you pick a thing, you're stuck. And I didn't want that. But she gave me grace. I tested it out. Once I started feeling it out as a manager, it started to wear on me. And I actually came to like it a lot, especially because I got to be even closer to the customers than I was as an intern.
Wow. That is awesome. That's a really awesome story. It's crazy because the reason why I joined Funkadelic was almost for the same reason as you, and, without the crushes.
Okay. Okay.
I first got in because of an open mic. I believe it was called the Beatbox. There was a rapper called Kazo. He's kind of popular now. Like he kind of blew up.
Okay.
And he invited me to go. And when I went, like the energy was so awesome. And the staff was also really nice. So as soon as the show was over, I went immediately to the front desk. I believe it was you I asked. I believe it was you. Yes, I think it was you. I asked you to like, how can I apply to be manager? And you gave me the email, and that's why I did that right after.
Oh yes, okay, yeah, because yes. Wow. Okay.
The exact same day. Like I was like really impressed with the studio.
Okay, so wow, yeah, how that all works out. I love that.
Wow.
I love that.
I know, right? Like I really enjoyed it too. Like I learned a whole bunch of stuff that I never really actually thought about because I actually like have my own home setup that I use for other people, but the experience really helped contributed to what I'm doing now, at least until I finally left. And I left because like this is how I usually operate, right? I usually do something until I'm no longer happy. And once I get that feeling that I need to move on, like it clicks, like I have to get out of here.
Okay.
Ended on a good note. Gave them a 2 weeks in advance letter, and that was it. And I still like come back occasionally, as you see me like once in a while when I used to go there a lot before the pandemic. Yeah,
it's a place where you want to come back, even if you're not a part of the staff.
I know, right? It's really amazing. Wow. Oh man. Oh, where did you move to, by the way?
So right now I'm in Virginia. I moved from New York to Virginia.
Nice. How was over there like?
It is quaint. It's quaint. It feels really nice. There's a lot of nature around, just how I like it.
Nice.
It feels just right. I have always said to myself, I'm not a city guy. I'm not. Concrete jungle doesn't work for me. Please have some trees, and Central Park wasn't cutting it.
Oh man.
It just wasn't.
Especially since the history of Central Park. I believe it was Central Park.
Ooh.
That had a really bad history.
I'm unaware.
So basically, Central Park used to be a village which I believe was called Seneca Village, which was a home to where all the black people went after slavery, I believe. And they were kind of like just squatting there. And then the people of the area, they wanted to turn it into a park. So it was a whole bunch of lawsuits that happened. People got kicked out of their homes. Everyone's homes got bulldozed, and that's how it became Central Park.
That sounds familiar. That sounds like a familiar story that has happened throughout the span of time, especially in the United States. That sounds very familiar. Why does that not sound like something new? Oh my God. I was just thinking about things like this. I made a single post, but it was along the line of my thoughts where I said well, this is what I wrote. I wrote, they took your hills, they cut the hills down, built towers, and then made you pay for the highest point in the city.
Yo. It's wild how true that is.
It's both partially in good faith and just bottom line truth. I was thinking right when I posted that, how when I lived in New York, whenever I found a week or a few days, I would just randomly travel to a different state. And I would stay there for a day or two or three. I never counted. I just left. And I would find places. I would go to wherever people were and find the highest points. If there was a tower or something, I would go ahead and climb it. Kind of like the One World Observatory, except say in Massachusetts, I would just find wherever the highest point was, go up there and look around, take pictures. So I was thinking about that at the time, and it's like, well, if this tower wasn't here, where would people stand to look around? And if I didn't have to pay to look around, where would I have went instead? What would be the highest hill without this building here? But I don't know. Wow. Because I was born in I was born in the 90s, so I wouldn't know. I wasn't back there in 1500s. So, but that was just a thought I had, along what you just said about Central Park and Seneca Village. That is, I didn't know. And it makes me wonder just how many places in New York City have they done that to?
That's a really crazy thought and scary, because there's a lot of things we don't know, and sometimes not knowing is usually the most terrifying thing ever.
You think so? Not knowing? Or coming, sometimes. Or having to come to know?
Having to come to know.
Because
maybe
what challenges you when you don't know is just finding out what is frustrating you about what you don't know. But once you need to learn it, then you have a different piece of knowledge about where you're standing. What you're being asked about what you know now is, okay, what are you going to do? What do you want to do with what you know? And if you're comfortable, that's the challenge. You don't want to be uncomfortable. And it's not necessarily that the new information makes you uncomfortable, but it's the fact that what you know no longer helps you feel comfortable.
I never actually thought about it that way. That is actually really good. That is a really good breakdown. And I have to think about that from now on.
So the good part of that thought process is where if you're challenging yourself, that allows you to get past certain things, because you just know that, well, hold on. If I always keep exploring myself, and what I'm afraid of is having to not be comfortable because of what I'm about to do, that's a little bit different, because you kind of have a little bit of space and power to choose what it is that you want to stay comfortable, because you can choose not to know certain things because you need a stable place to stand in the first place. You don't want to just shake everything from underneath you because what are you doing, right? But right, so that's the
Exactly.
good part of it. Where you because of that, you know where you don't have to destroy everything you've known. The bad part about it is when you don't care about what it is that you need to destroy or have to destroy or have destroyed to be where you are. That's when it's an issue because then whenever everyone else challenges you, now you have to think like, wait a minute, okay, you're saying that, but I'm good. And then when you don't want to tell them, no, I'm good, and you're afraid of their reaction of, no, I'm good, that's where a problem starts. Because then it's like, okay, so when are you going to tell me that you don't want to move?
Yo, this is accurate because I'm still like trying to get used to this actually. Like when I'm talking to people and when I'm clearly uncomfortable, the first thing I usually think about is offending them. But lately I'm trying to focus on like, yo, how do I feel about this? Because in the end of the day, it's basically you over them sometimes.
It's always you over them, right? And
Yep.
I was just thinking about, okay, this is great. So it is the fundamental idea of an interaction between you and somebody else is always going to be you over them, right? So that is
Exactly.
not necessarily a challenge. The challenge is, okay, but how do I, if they have something I want, how do I get what I want without putting myself over them because they have something that I want? Not necessarily prostrating yourself, but you consider what they have of value. And especially if they consider you having something of value, then that's something it's a relationship you definitely don't want to mess up now. So now it becomes not I'm over them or they're over me, but we are over this thing. That was a shortcut thought. But when you both know that you're not over each other because you both have value in each other, the concern changes from them being the enemy to the problem you want to solve just being the enemy. Yeah, that's the thought.
Yo, that is accurate. Like that's how most of my relationship with people is now. And going back to a little bit, when you said that it's always you over everyone else, it made me think about something that I actually didn't realize connected somehow. You know, have you ever been on an airplane?
Yes.
Have you ever heard the instruction where in case an emergency happens, you see about yourself first and then help the other people
Yes.
next to you? That is exactly what I feel like you were trying to say. And it was like, yo, this makes sense. You got to focus on yourself
You really
first.
do. It like, and that's why I said it's fundamental because it actually helps things go faster. If you just start there first, that's really it. The moment you're okay, then anytime you see someone who needs help, all you have to do is motion because you don't have you're not struggling with yourself. It's making sure you're not fighting with yourself first. That's
Wow.
I'm,
Oh, this
I'm
is
laughing
crazy.
because I have an image in my head when I said that. Because it just imagine you're
What was it?
trying to survive and you're struggling trying to survive, but you see someone who needs help. So you choose to try to survive and help them. Just imagine the chaos that's going on in your head. So it's just making me laugh. Think about that.
Yo, that's pure chaos. It's crazy because I was thinking about a situation that happened. Not really a situation, but multiple situations. Because earlier, about 2 years ago, I saw a podcast, which kind of like made me really open to my sixth sense because I have a sixth sense, but I usually ignore it, and when I ignore it, bad things happen. So what the podcast said is that you have a power to sense emotions. So I believe it was like a month ago. 3 different people that came to me for help, right? So the first 2, I didn't even think about it. Like, I did it in a heartbeat. But when the 3rd person came, I became extremely, extremely uncomfortable. And it stayed that way for like about 3 days straight. And I was like, yeah, I can't do it. And I felt bad, but I know it's for a good reason. Yeah, so I was like, I felt bad that I had to shut that person down. But I was having a bad feeling that this is a kind of, like, the reason why they asked me for help wasn't in any good intention. So I had to put up my boundaries. Like, I had no choice.
Yes, it's a lot of people struggle with not necessarily helping people, but telling them they don't want to help them, which is funny because the person isn't asking you, hey, can you let me know if you can help me or not? They're asking you for help. And sometimes there are people who get caught up inside conveying that difference. And maybe you can tell me, but I'm not sure where people got that feeling where you have to tell other people why you don't want to help them instead of just saying, no, I don't, no, without trying to tell them why no. I think I made a post that said on Facebook. Yes, I use Facebook a lot for everyone listening. No is a full sentence. Either I've written it or someone else has said it. But no is a full sentence. It is.
It is.
It just is. So actually saying that makes me think this. Other people do usually respond to your no as if there was a period at the end. It's you who doesn't think there's a period because you thinking to yourself, how do I feel? All of this mental gymnastics when they're not even there. They're not even in your head. They're nowhere to be found right now. Why do they need all of this extra information just for you to tell them no? But here, I'll say this though, because you mentioned the sixth sense. Absolutely, you need to validate your feelings for why you want to say no, but you have to validate them to yourself. Those feelings definitely come because of the intention of the other person. There's a lot of people that don't believe that about themselves. And just like you said, if you ignore it, bad things happen. And that's exactly right. Because people come to you with what they're thinking in their head. When you feel something bad, that was not you imagining something bad. That's them sending that intention towards you in their request. Just do you trust yourself to know and not blame them for the feelings that you have? Because that's where it goes after that. Because when you help someone and then something bad happens, you want to blame them for giving you the bad thing. But then it's like, wait a minute, but they didn't know. Once you catch up with yourself, you have to say, wait a minute, but they didn't know. And then you start to blame yourself. But then again, it's like, wait, exactly. You didn't know first. If I didn't, and the question is this, if I didn't trust myself in the first place to just not do it, then why am I blaming myself and holding myself to fault and judging myself and hurting myself? Meanwhile, they're literally running off with the thing that I've given them happily. What was that exchange then? What is that?
No.
You know, So it's just, wait a minute, let's back way up, because we don't need to go there. There is no one to blame. Just remember next time to say no and don't explain yourself.
Wow. A lot of people have a problem of like not blaming themselves and not forgiving themselves. Like when things like this happen, the first thing people do is like they usually blame themselves. They also blame the other person, but they blame themselves really hard. And I used to be a person that would dwell for months, over months. And then I realized like, yo, this situation, it happened. It's not my fault. Gotta forgive myself. There's nothing to worry about. Like it already happened. Like you need to figure out exactly what just took place, and then you have to leave it as it is. And that is difficult because I know people who are in their 80s and they still talk about the things that happened when they were 17 and they never got over it.
Right. You know what?
Wow.
This is one of the most outstanding problems that we have. Wouldn't you know that it's not even necessarily how you feel about what you went through that's the problem. It's that you didn't tell yourself. And there's a lot of people that carry this. They didn't tell themselves simply that it happened. It goes right back to the explaining thing. You want to say no, but then you want to say no because it doesn't work. And so much of the pain that people feel, they look back and they say, well, this happened because. It's the because that is killing them.
Wow.
Can't you just say it happened?
Exactly.
Right? And then just leave it. And it's so interesting to me. I don't see a lot of people doing this. And it's one of the points in conversation, especially on social media, let alone face to face, that I want people to get to. If we could just say that it happened, whatever it is, if you could just start there, then we can have a conversation, not necessarily about what happened, but can we just leave space for saying that events have occurred and then leaving it alone? There's so much more conversation to be had, but there's so many people not just admitting that things have happened. And I mean, I understand, but I'm beyond the point of understanding things and then allowing them. I'm beyond that point. You can understand everything until the day you die, but there's a lot of people out there that have understood everything and it hasn't made their life change one iota. Nothing has happened because all that understanding. Wow. So I have a page. This is one of the things I didn't cover when I said I did a lot of things, but one of my beloved projects, I focus on this one the most, is called The Relationship Theory. I have a Facebook page, a private group for the Facebook page. I have an Instagram ad. That's what comes with the blog and the vlog. And one of the posts I put is, I understand is a process of study. I understand it's a process. It's not an answer. It's not any of these things. When you say I understand, what you mean is I'm going to look at this more. I'm going to process this. A lot of people use I understand as if it was a period. And it's funny, but that's not the way I understand. When you see it in action, that's not how it communicates. I understand is there's more to this and I will see to it.
Wow.
And yeah, I took that segue just now to mention that. Just, I'm not sure why. But I did want to say that there's a lot of people that, oh yes, I remember.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people that understand so much, but you can study all you like. It's like studying for a test that never comes. So, but the test is what's important at the end of all this. You can, you can read all the books, but if you don't ever put anything to practice, you don't get anywhere. It's that same concept.
exactly.
So that's what people do with
Wow.
their feelings and their regrets and the blame. It's like, okay, you understand it. Everyone feels this way, but when are you going to stop explaining yourself? Stop doing that, because then, what kind of story are
Exactly.
you trying to tell, and who are you trying to validate? Who really needs that validation? You're trying to who who you're looking for something.
Wow.
Just who? You have to
Exactly.
tell me who. Don't blame yourself. And then this is the funny thing. And then people might be so much into the habit of explaining. You might go, okay, who are you trying to validate? And then they'll be like, I'm trying to validate this person because, and there you go into the because trap. Just say who so that I can ask you why.
Wow.
There's so much. There's just so much to be discovered.
These. Wow. These are things I really need to think about more from now on.
Questions. This leads into another path when it comes to asking just questions in general. They just help you so much, and the type of questions that you ask for your situations, they matter. We all know that who, what, when, where, why, how. But there, each of those questions, yes, we use them differently, but there's an emotional translation to these things. It's just like I understand the way that happens in action. These questions, the who, what, they have an action to them. They have an action to them. So when that person that's looking for validation, the question is who. But then when you know who, it's why that person. What do they have? Now I'm asking. So what is that person that you're trying to get validation from? What do they have to give you such a purpose for your life? What do they have? Because then
Wow.
it's like, okay, so once you get it from them, what happens next? And if that person isn't yourself,
Hmm.
you're going to there's going to be an empty space. There's going to be a black hole where everything collapses because there's nothing more to your entire endeavor. All because you weren't aiming for yourself when you were trying to validate or get that validation. You were aiming at someone else to give you it. What?
Wow. And the only one that matters is supposed to be yourself.
Yes. There's very few people who know what yourself means, and probably what throws a lot of people off is that self part. I don't think people can hear the word self, and this is just me thinking out loud because I actually haven't thought about this, but when people hear self, do they think selfish? Is that where they go immediately? Do they not just stop at self
Usually.
and think about what comes with it? What's the consistency of what it means to be myself? What do I see the most? It goes back to the questions. And when so I actually want to break this down a bit, if you don't mind. Okay.
I don't mind.
So when earlier I touched on questions that they each have they have an action that you can see. So when you see, so when it came to that person looking for validation from that person, there where was an action. Your wheres are your desires. Where are you trying to go? What do you want is really what you're asking. What is the event at hand? what is an event, who is a person, why is your will or lack of restraint. When you ask why are you doing this, you're asking why did you not restrain yourself. When you're asking about time, and when you're asking about how, you're asking about what will be seen. It's like, how will you get there? What are the steps? So if you wanted to guide someone along and you wanted to tell them how to get somewhere, you're asking them, no, what you want to do is tell them what they will see that validates where they are so that they can get where they're going. So that they can get where. It's funny because once you get into the system of a question, your sentences actually become much shorter. So when I listen to people and they're talking about what, I want to ask where. It's like, what did they want for them to get where they got? Like, what was their where? What the events created this desire? This desire created these events? So to me, it's sort of laughable how the system of questions work. But they only really work when you're either dealing with someone and you're interacting with them, when you're trying to break things down. A lack of awareness needs questions. If you don't know what's going on, if you don't know who you are, what you're doing, you need questions. You need questions. Stop and start asking questions. It always gets you on the right path. So that's a little breakdown of questions. I have a vlog dedicated to that entire breakdown.
I believe I saw that one. Yo, that's crazy because wow, like one of the things I started doing recently was that I realized that certain traumas I had in the past were still like contributing to the way I feel. So one of the solutions was to ask questions. But I'm not asking questions to the present me. I'm asking questions to my past life, the one who actually went through it. And it was like one of the most craziest experiences ever. Because I think people, when they talk to their past self, it might work differently for other people. But when I do it, it's like I get my responses and goosebumps.
That's an excellent practice. Everyone needs to do that. That is what is so necessary. So I love that you mentioned trauma. Let's get into that, right? So it's two very hard, consistent things in what you just said. So, responding to present events through your past self, right? And then the second is you questioning your past self on what happened back then to even make you feel the way you feel now. So trauma in itself, I know that it's a very sensational word for everyone listening. We might want to tone it down a notch because trauma is really just a separation between the mind and the body. Any specific event that might have occurred is that separates the trust that you have between your mind and your body. That is trauma. And that's really what it is. I think a lot of people imagine what am I thinking? Just massive earthquake that just causes all of this chaos and there's just nothing you can possibly do. All hope is lost, when trauma can be just as small as the time when your babysitter spoke to you a little bit too harshly and what you really wanted was validation. People might call that small, but that kind of thing causes ripples throughout time. We underestimate the moments when people disappoint us and we need them the most. That is very important. Because whatever you trusted that person to give you at that time, if they couldn't give you it, and neither did they validate their lack of ability to do so, you're left with a lot of pieces. It's like, wait a minute, but aren't you my caretaker? And if you're my caretaker, you can't give me this thing. You want to ask why? Because they ought to know that you trust them. So there's going to be communication going on. And if there's no communication, then is this relationship what I thought it was? And you can't get what I need? You can't give me what I need? So now I have to recalibrate this entire thing. You can't give me what I need, but neither are you the person I thought you were, which means what for myself? How am I supposed to move forward now? What am I supposed to do so that I can do that? And a lot of people don't encounter those questions. That's what keeps them stuck in that place. That's what questions are for. Because people don't know. Your body might be able to move forward and see different things, but your mind never goes anywhere that you don't help it pass through. It never goes anywhere that you do not help it with your body to pass through. Nothing matters if you do not help your mind pass through the wall. Literally nothing. And your body is the wall. Your body is the portal. That's what people don't understand. I was talking to... You know Shala from Funkadelic Studios? She was the keyboardist who did the open jam on the Saturdays. She's been around the music scene really, really heavily. She's seen some things, and I don't think anyone knows it. They just think she's this lady who knows how to organize things and coordinate things to make them feel good, and it's because she's been in practice. Now, she taught me about the body. At least she gave me this bit about the body, that the body is a channel. The body is a channel. It is the wall, but it's the channel. Your mind does not know what to do if your body does not do it. You need your body. So when people say myself, what they need to make sure they understand is, am I talking about my mind or am I talking about my body? Now, your body is always with you. That's the reason why you can even acknowledge a self in the first place. Otherwise, you'd be scattered amongst the memories, lost somewhere in the ether. Who knows what dimension you could find yourself in. But your body grounds you. You know, and everyone disregards it as if your body isn't the most valuable thing in the world. It's like the reason why you can see the world as it is because your body is where it is. But it's the last place you look? The underestimation of the most precious jewel in the world. And I understand a lot of people, this is where it goes back to trauma, because the reason why we experience the things we experience in the first place that hurt us is because people are responding to our bodies. But our bodies already have a system in place to recover from these things. So who's the real child? Your body or your mind? Who really needs help? Who's the one really experiencing these things? Of course your body is, but that's probably why most people underestimate and forego what they experience, because they say, yeah, I mean, my body, yeah, whatever. No, don't you? What? That's crazy. No, not your body, whatever. That's the reason why you can even say whatever. That's ridiculous. So yes, who's the real child is the question. Your body or your mind? Who's really adapting? And it's up to the person who's traumatized to figure that out. Who got left behind when you got hurt? Your mind or your body? Whichever one you figure out it is, help that thing restore itself. And then move forward, because you're definitely not going anywhere in life that you want to without it.
Wow. This is amazing. Yo, like I literally had like so many other questions, but I got so engaged with this conversation that it's like, yo, this is the only thing we actually talk about.
Hey,
Yo, this is
I'll take all these
awesome.
questions. We could always come back to it.
Uh, but, one more question, at least I think we could squeeze
Yes.
in because we got like 10 minutes left. So, speaking about all of the stuff we talk about, right? How did you first like become aware of your own traumas and decide to like, I gotta leave this
So
behind?
for one, I've always been aware. And I say always
Oh,
because
really?
I've seen it in other people. Now, what does other people have to do with me? I've always believed that the way people are, whatever I see in other people, I am able to find those things in myself. But how do I even know that? Well, I was a child once. Well, my body, anyway, my physical body was a child, and I had to do what I was told. And sometimes, whatever I was told that I followed came out to a specific result, and it was dependable, or it wasn't. I kept doing that until I realized after a certain age, some people are actually just telling you things and they're not talking to you as a person. They're just saying whatever comes to mind because if they were in your shoes and they felt uncomfortable, well, this would make me feel good, but they're not thinking about you. So I realized at a certain age, wow, actually, you should stop listening to people because they're not even thinking about you when they're talking to you. As a matter of fact, they're not even thinking about themselves because what they're saying is what somebody else told them. So they haven't even stopped questioning when they should listen to other people. That was the moment. So I've always known it's just asking the question. So when do I stop listening to people?
Wow. Wait, didn't you made a post about that like this week?
How did it start? Because
Um, it's something about not listening to people. I can't remember. I believe you post something like
the
that.
only reason why I can't remember is because I'm thinking about a YouTube video I have planned, and which is not the same as this. It's on listening, but it's not listening.
Wow. Yo, that is awesome. Because my self awareness kind of came late. Because one thing I realized, like, it was the same year where I believe we first met. That's when I finally like became a little bit aware because the year before that I had like a mental breakdown and I told myself like I didn't want to be in America anymore for a while, so I went back to my home country, which is in Trinidad. Stayed there for a year to like see if I could start over there. Realize that a lot of stuff that I believed in wasn't even my own thoughts. It was the stuff that people put in my head. And after that, I was like, yeah, I have to leave this behind and live through my experiences from now on.
So you pulled the Dave Chappelle.
Yeah. Didn't take as long as him, but
But yeah, I really do mean it. Just I've always known, and because I trust people, a lot of people don't trust people, but they also have doubts about how and who and what to trust. They do they explain too much about what it means to trust when trust doesn't deal with the explanations. It is or it is not. Trust is a fact. That's you don't talk about trust. If you break it, you broke it. But it's when it's broken, that's when it's broken. Trust doesn't break beforehand. You don't say, "Hey, I'm testing your trust." What? No, there is no conversation. It just is. So I always trust people. It's observing when it's broken and then seeing the pattern of when it's broken and then seeing, well, whenever I'm talking to this kind of person, because this person is kind of like this person, but which one breaks the trust? Like, how does this work between these two people? And just seeing the comparisons and the contrasts and the connections between those. So you get varying degrees of both trust of people, where you can stop, where you ought to not just give it from the moment you meet that, right? So it's really not even really up to the person themselves when it comes to trust. It's just your personal gauge. Do you trust people or do you not? And then you get to decide who. But you have to first decide, do I even trust people at all? If you don't trust people, you should be living a different life. If you do, which a lot of people fail to acknowledge, they do trust people, but then they add the doubts, which frustrates every single transaction and interaction that you experience in the world today. This whole pandemic thing, this is largely a part of